the final Killer Tune card. For some reason, I cannot tell you the reason, but they are revealing like the archetypes, but they are always leaving out one card. I don't know. I guess they're like they are spacing out the reveal season a little bit, but they did the same with the other two archetypes. They revealed everything and then they gave us one little card later, which I guess is cool. But now we have the last card from the deck build pack Phantom Revengers, and it is Killer Tune Q, which is a light fairy tuner monster. And it reads as follows. If this card on the field would be used as synchro material, a tuner in your hand can be used as one of the other materials. You can only use the first and second effect each once per turn. So this is similar to all of the other Killer Tune monsters. They can all synchro with each other in the hand, as long as one of them is on the field. And then if this card is normal summoned, you can special summon a tuner from your hand, deck, or graveyard, except Killer Tune Q. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn except tuners. Okay. Now that's what I'm talking about. Holy, wait a second. I was worried about Killer Tune because in the first wave, I felt like the cards were really cool and really good, but they revealed more synchro monsters than actual main deck monsters. So I was like, this is kind of awkward. Like, how am I going to build a deck around this? Because this is the thing. And I've seen some people talk about the restriction on this. Like, some people were complaining about the fact that it's hard to cook with this card because it locks you in. It locks you pretty heavily, which in my opinion is a good thing. I think this is awesome because it gives you the ability to make good cards for Killer Tune, but making sure they're actually used in Killer Tune, because that is a harsh restriction, you know, like only being able to summon tuners for the rest of the turn means you basically have to be playing a Killer Tune deck, like period, you know, like you've got to be playing Killer Tune if you want to be doing that, because otherwise, even from the extra deck, like you cannot link summon at all, can't fusion summon, all that stuff, you know, can't exceed, and even if you're synchro summoning, you can only summon synchro tuners, which for the most part is Killer Tunes. Of course, you can do some other, and the thing with all of the other synchros that might also be tuners, most of those require non-tuners as the synchro material. So even then you can't make those because you can't special summon the non-tuner. So pretty much locked into Killer Tune with this, which I think is good. If this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can excavate the top two cards of your opponent's deck, banish one of them, also place the other on the top or bottom of the deck. Okay, so similar concept here where each of these Killer Tune cards has a main effect and then like an effect when it is sent to the grave as synchro material. This one in particular is, I really don't want to say bad, because manipulating the top of your opponent's deck is pretty powerful for a couple of like, this is power. I actually do think this second effect is powerful because you're going to look at the top two cards of your opponent's deck here. And you can banish one of them that might be essential to their strategy, or maybe it's a one-of or whatever. But I think the bigger deal here is that you know what card they're going to draw, right? You have control over this. Like, you can look at the next two cards and you're like, okay, I'm happy if you draw this card, so I'll just leave it there, banish the other one, and call it a day. Or if they're like both really good cards, you banish one and then put the other to the bottom, and then I guess at that point you do not know what they're gonna draw, but you've still eliminated two really good top decks from them. So like, I do think this is a like deceptively strong effect. I think this is comparable to Spiral Gear Drone back in the day, which like the effect to manipulate the top of your opponent's deck was like mainly there so you could reveal your agent and all that kind of stuff, but like it was like deceptively strong to know what your opponent was going to draw next turn and being able to manipulate it a little bit. Yeah. Why do they make turn 0 decks? Because it's good for Yu-Gi-Oh, and it's fun. Yu-Gi-Oh is supposed to be an interactive game. If you're mad that your opponent has interaction on your turn, you're not trying to play Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm sorry to break the news to you. Yes, chat, we're gonna read Red Nova. I'm aware. I have Red Nova open already. I know. Can I read the card first? This card in a vacuum is, I think, exactly what Killer Tune needed. because it's another main deck monster with high quality, and that is really, really strong. Now, okay, let's talk about Red Nova. Okay, yes, Red Nova spiked in price. This is a level 1 Fire Fairy tuner that says, dude, it's actually very small here on Card Market. I was just showcasing this because it jumped in price. Like, this was a 20-cent card just a while ago, and now it has spiked to at least 10 bucks for the secret rare. I think it has a common printing, but that's not much better. It's 5 euros for a common right now. If this card is sent to the graveyard for a synchro summon that uses 2 or more tuner monsters, you can special summon a Fire Fiend type monster from your deck in defense position. So you can summon this with Killer Tune Q. It is a level 1, so you make a level 4 synchro, which Killer Tune does have, and that allows you to summon a Fiend Fire type from your deck in defense position. Of course, this was once meant to be Resonator support. However, if I remember correctly, Killer Tune does have a target for this. Killer Tune does have a Fire Fiend monster. I forgot what the name of it was, but they have another good main deck monster that is a Fire Fiend. So what you can do, I think it's Rekko, yeah. So you do Killer Tune Q, special summon Red Nova, make a level 4 synchro, get those effects, and then special summon Killer Tune Q, and then you can keep synchro summoning. I think this is good. I think this is a card that you would play. Because it's not even a terrible draw in the deck, I think, because if you draw it, the Killer Tunes still allow you to synchro summon with it because it is a tuner in your hand. So I think it's something you would play because it's not even a brick and just like a pretty solid option to do. It's not a brick. It is not a brick because you just like use it as a tuner material in your hand with the other Killer Tunes. Definitely not a brick. So this is very good. However, I want to say something. I want to say something for all the people that are like jumping on the hype train and buying this card. You know, I want to say a few things. The first thing is I don't believe that they are not aware of this interaction. I think this is planned. I think this is something that they wanted to happen. They wanted this combo line to be played because it's super obvious. You know, like you're gonna look at like this is a super obvious interaction. The second thing I want to say is that very often it happens in Yu-Gi-Oh! That a deck becomes meta and then old cards can spike in price because they have synergy with the new cards. This is not a rare occurrence. And oftentimes, Konami is too slow with the reprints. You know, everyone remembers Trident Dragon going up in price because of Tenpai and Konami just being like, yeah, you better borrow one from your friend, and then it was reprinted way too late. Everyone remembers that, but there is one exception to this, and this is the one time they do it right with the reprints, is the deck building packs. The deck building packs, because they are not only new cards, they are also filled with reprints, usually come with the reprints necessary to play the cards. Think of Justice Hunters reprinting Obedience Schooled, reprinting other cards that were like meant to be played together with the deck. I think it is at this point Paradise Smasher. Yes, it is a very high chance that once Killer Tune comes out, this card is going to be in the deck building for it. Because this is like one of the most obvious interactions with Killer Tune Q. So if you are buying this card right now because of Killer Tune, I don't think you need to be spending that amount of money on. Of course, there is a chance I'm wrong. And if you want to spend 5 euros right now for a common that's probably going to be reprinted, then go ahead and do it. But like, I honestly think the chances that this is reprinted in the deck building pack is very high. I think this is usually, I think it makes sense to pick up cards ahead of time, even if they've gone up in price a little bit, if the stuff is coming out in a main set. Like if it's a like Tenpai, for example, I think it made sense to pick up Trident Dragons in advance because they are not reprinting in a main set, which I honestly think is a mistake. I think I've been saying this. I think they should put reprints into main sets as well. Instead of pack fillers, they should just put like the cards that make sense with the archetypes, but that's a different discussion. Just in regards to Red Nova, because it is a deck building pack, I would not, yeah, buy Red Novas at this price. I wouldn't be too worried about this. Yeah. Proof it's intentional. It's literally the first thing they play in this. Yeah, apparently they even showed it off in the official stream that showcased like the Killer Tune cards. Like they just showed this interaction. So yeah. Anyways, that aside, let's talk about Killer Tune as a whole now with this new card. I think this card fills in a lot of holes that Killer Tune had. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it is the perfect card for the deck to get. And I honestly think that Killer Tune is looking quite interesting. Of course, I think the win condition of banishing your opponent's resources, right? As someone who has been a runic defender in the past, is controversial. It's a controversial win condition that a lot of people are not going to like. I personally don't hate it. I think it's fine because it banishes face up. But I do think a lot of people are not going to like it for that reason, because I think the Killer Tune interaction is like the way this deck is supposed to operate. It's just something that I vibe with that a lot of other people don't vibe with, which is okay. But the way this deck is supposed to operate is you're trying to interrupt your opponent. You're trying to slow them down because Killer Tune's interruptions are not that broken. Like Killer Tune doesn't like the Killer Tune cards, the Killer Tune board is not going to be overwhelmingly strong. You're trying to slow down the opponent until you can banish some of their key resources from extra deck or top of deck and so on and so forth. That's basically the goal of the deck, is to prolong the game with your end board pieces to then eventually banish a couple of key resources from your deck and then win the game that way. At least that's how I interpret it currently, which honestly I think is something that I would enjoy. But I do understand if not everyone feels that. It does feel like runic a little bit in that regard, because you're like runic combo, not runic stun. So it's basically it's like a runic that doesn't have synergy with stun, if that makes any sense. Like, do you see where I'm coming from with that? It's like if runic could only be played in combo decks. Do you know what I mean? Which I feel like that'd be cool. I feel like that's a cool thing personally. But of course, you wouldn't expect anything else from me, who's been one of the biggest runic combo deck enjoyers, even though I've always hated runic stun. So like, you know, I like it. It seems very grindy. I'm a fan of it. And this new card is obviously amazing for it. This new card is obviously amazing. Red Nova is also an amazing card for the deck, honestly. Like, I think this card is good in the deck. Like, it's not even a bad draw. That's why I like it so much. I would not have liked this if this was just a brick, but it genuinely is not a brick because the Killer Tunes can all synchro summon with it. So I think in hand. So that's cool, I think. But yeah, overall, this brings us to an end on the Phantom Revengers reveals. Now all that's left is, I guess, to wait for it to release and see how the impact is in the OCG. But so far, I think I like this pack. I think it is less powerful than Justice Hunters overall, but Justice Hunters is also really good, so that's maybe not the fairest comparison to make. But it's solid. I like it. I like the playstyle of all of the decks, honestly. I even like the Hecaton Share, which is probably at the moment the least anticipated. At least like the Hecaton Share hype, I feel like was not that crazy. But I like any aircraft and Killer Tune, I'm definitely looking forward to. And then with Hecaton Share, I guess the thing with Hecaton, or Heca Hands, I guess is what it's called now. At least we get that one really good hand trap, even generically, right? So even if the deck doesn't do well, the card is going to be good for sure, right? So I'm looking forward to Phantom Revenge. Honestly, I'm seeing like I'm seeing a pattern this year where like some of my favorite sets are actually the deck building packs now. I know we've talked about this in the past, but I feel like deck building packs have changed in a way where, or like the entire release structure of Yu-Gi-Oh! In these last couple of years even has been like a little bit different, because I feel like the core sets have been there for mostly like 2 reasons, where like one was to give us like lore archetypes, like the Diabellstar lore, Visa Starfrost lore, and now the Archmage lore and stuff like that. And then the second purpose was to do legacy support, because those are things that people really like. People like their lore and people like their legacy support. So that's been like the core sets mostly, which has sometimes left us with like some mid core sets, right? Because it's like sometimes these just don't really like, they're cool, but they just don't really hit, you know, like Archmage, for example. Not yet, at least, you know. Archmage is cool, but it hasn't really hit meta yet. So as a result, Duelist Advance like wasn't insane in terms of a set. And I guess another small thing for core sets that can be a big thing depending on how they do it is like generic cards, right? Like the deck build packs don't really release like a new hand trap or something like that, except for specifically Phantom Revengers, but that's technically an archetypal card, you know. But like the core sets are where we get those cards from still, like our Molcharmies, our like Pot of Prosperity, Triple Tactics cards, Evenleys, and so on and so forth. Of course, Izuna and Goddess from Phantom Revengers can technically be hand traps, but they're still archetypal cards. You know what I mean? Like the cards like Prosperity, Evenly Matched, Talons, Thrust, all that, the Charmies, that comes out of like core sets, like the staple cards, right? And then so core sets are lore, legacy support, and generic cards for the most part. And the deck build packs are where we actually get, it feels like, the innovative new archetypes, right? I can't be the only one who feels like that, right? Like here's where we get like a lot, like so many meta decks from recent years were from deck build packs, like so many. Like, of course, I can think of some core booster archetypes as well, but those were mostly lore related, like Snake Eyes or whatever. But like, yeah, okay, Tenpai, and then most of the other things that became meta were because of legacy support, like when Yubel became good, for example, or something. But like deck building packs, like holy shit, like we get so many. Like we got the Runic, the Rescue Ace, the Pearly, the Labyrinth, the Malice, the Ryziel, now the Yummy, the Canine, the Draco Tail, like all that. There's so many deck building packs archetypes that are meta defining, which honestly, Vanquish Soul 2, Memento, I think that's a decent concept, to be honest with you. I just kind of wish like the core sets, I'm not sure how exactly, but like I guess the core sets are like just objectively worse than deck build packs at the moment. Because if I'm thinking of Justice Hunter's release, like Justice Hunters is just a hype set, you know. We've got 3 new archetypes, all 3 are well designed, all 3 are good, all 3 playable right out of the gate, and the box has cool rarities, and the box also comes with good reprints for those decks, you know. Like it's just like, in my opinion, the deck building packs currently are one of the best concepts in terms of a set in Yu-Gi-Oh, right? And because Justice Hunters is also filled with good cards, there's very few bad pulls in the set, you know. Very few cards that you don't want to get. Like even if you're trying to build Vanquish Soul Canine and you pull Yummy Ultras, it's not bad because you're going to find people that want them. As a result, like everything you pull is pretty good, and like nothing is extremely expensive. Even Izuna, which is the most anticipated card from the set, and even like a generically good hand trap, is like $30, which is, for the most expensive card in the set, pretty good. But still, because every single card in the set is solid, and because there's some premium rarities that you can pull, the set is still fun to open. It's like Justice Hunters is not a bad set, even though the most expensive card out of the normal rarity cards like is $30. So I feel like if we could somehow apply that concept to core sets, that would already be a good step. I don't know, but like maybe the solution is then you have to make more good generic cards for the core sets, if that's what they really shine in. Because what I don't want them to do is just make more Snake Eyes to sell the core sets, like to make just like broken lore archetypes. But I guess like if they are capable of designing cool and innovative deck building pack archetypes why would they not be able to do the same thing with the lore archetypes? You know, like, I don't know why, but for some reason, like, if you compare the work that they put into Yummy, like all that, although like Yummy, Draco Tail, K9, Killer Tune, Eniac Craft, like, it feels like those archetypes just were designed with more love than Snake Eyes was, for example. Like I don't know. If they just design the lore archetypes like these, then I guess I'm fine with Archmage and stuff. I do see an improvement in that regard for the core set. It's just that, unfortunately, I guess Archmage was not quite strong enough. But maybe it will be, who knows? But yeah, it's almost like if you design a cool archetype, you don't need to print 1,000 new bulk cards around them so they're inflated in price. Yeah. No, I mean, I think the deck building packs, I said it a moment ago, like, I think they're like one of the best like, between the deck building packs and rarity collection are like the best concepts in Yu-Gi-Oh that we have right now in terms of packs. Like, everything else is behind those in terms of like how the set is designed, you know? And I think one key component of that is just like the average quality of the cards that you're getting. Like, there's just not as many stinkers in those, and also reprints are a part of it, you know? Like, I think one of the biggest things they could do to help core sets is throw some reprints in there instead of some of the pack fillers. You know, like if you could pull a solid reprint that makes that like goes hand in hand with some of the cards in the set instead of the worst ultra in the set or whatever, that would be, yeah. Or just make them smaller in general. Just get rid of some of the bulk around it, you know. But yeah, okay. I digress. Funny considering most deck build packs were kind of mid before, especially because you didn't know whether they would perform out of the box and would often only receive support 6 months after their original release. That's something that I do want to note about this entire thing, is like, they do respond to these kind of criticisms, right? This is why I bring up these discussions every so often, because I do think they see this sort of stuff in the community and they do change something about this, because one of the biggest critique points in the past about deck build packs was that the archetypes always looked cool, but they were never playable out of the box. You know, like you do mention stuff like Rescue Ace, you do mention stuff like Pearly. Those decks came out and everyone was like, yeah, I remember very specifically talking about those two decks being like, yeah, I see what they're trying to do here. This looks cool, but this is just not playable yet. Like, we're gonna have to wait. And that was always kind of awkward for the community, because you didn't know what to do. You didn't know what, it's basically like the TCG exclusive archetypes, where if the cards are cool, but you have no idea if they're going to be good because they are entirely dependent on core set support, it's just a gamble on whether they're going to be good or not, right? Like, picking up Pearly in the beginning, the cards were cheap, like cheap-ish, because no one knew how good Per Lily and Sleepy Memory were going to be, for example, right? Or no one knew how good Rescue Ace, the quick play spell Emergency was going to be for the deck, right? Like, no one knew that. So as a result, no one knew that they needed to pick up Rescue Aces when the deck came out. And then like months later, when those cards came out, you either bought the cards because you gambled, and then they spiked in price like crazy. The same is true for Labyrinth, with Big Welcome Labyrinth being like the most custom support card for the deck that you could really imagine. So it's tough, you know, like and that's just like not a great, I think it's not a great business model if your customers don't know if they want the cards or not. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you can decide, yeah, these cards are bad, I don't want them, or these cards are good, I want them. You're like in the middle. You're like forced to play this guessing game of, will they make this archetype good? Because the thing you have to realize is, like, they can make anything good if they want to, right? If they set their sight on a certain archetype and they want to make it playable, they can. They make the cards, right? So it doesn't feel good to invest into cards just because they could make them powerful, right? And so this, I think, is one of the key reasons why I like the deck building packs so much right now, because you know what you're getting. And you like, if for example, if these decks are already playable, you're not risking anything, right? Like you're picking up a Yummy deck because it's good right now. You're not relying on the next Yummy support card from the next pack. Now, the thing is, you're still being rewarded by getting even more, like the decks are getting even better, you know, like Ryziel, Malice, those decks got even better over time because they still give these decks support. They still reward the people that picked up those decks with new cards, which I think is cool. But like you weren't risking anything when you picked them up because they were already playable, which I think is a good concept, you know, like you make people happy with the initial release, they pick up the cards because they're good, and then there's another wave of cards that makes people even happier for picking up the cards, you know what I mean? And so I think that's good. And this, once again, this is something that they have changed, right? So like it's not like they never listen to anything, right? Like sometimes they do take these sort of things and then they do make it better in future. Like deck building packs have improved a lot from previous years, I think. There's a new V-Jump promo, sneak peek. It's not on Yugioh yet, so link me once it is. But yes, once again, I just want to repeat for the people that maybe just joined, Red Nova, personally, if you want my guess, which of course is never 100% accurate, it could be wrong, but because of how deck build pack works and because deck build packs have reprints in them and usually reprint the good cards that are necessary to play the decks, like 95% of the time, I think there's a very high chance that Red Nova is going to get a reprint in the deck build pack for Killer Tune. So I would not recommend picking them up for $5 or $10 or whatever right now, because it might just be a rare in the deck build pack, most likely. So yeah, don't lose your mind over it. Why is Red Nova good? What are you summoning with it? You are summoning a Killer Tune monster with it, actually. Let me show you that. Hold up. Killer Tune. There's a main deck Killer Tune that you can search with it, which is Killer Tune Rekko, which is a Fire Fiend. So you can summon this one. And if it is normal or special summon, you can add a Killer Tune from your deck or grave to your hand. So basically, normal summon Killer Tune Q, special summon Red Nova from the deck, which is a level 1 tuner. Then you make the level 4 Synchro, which is, if this card is special summoned, you can add a Killer Tune card from your deck to your hand. So this adds 1 card. Red Nova special summons Rekko, which also adds a card. So literally adding 2 cards from your deck to your hand, and you have 2 monsters on the board. And then you go from there. I don't know exactly where you go from there. You have a level 4 and a level 3 on the field, which means these 2 together won't make a synchro, but you can synchro with the ones you search, right? Because they can all synchro from hand. So like you actually do pop off with Killer Tune Q. Absolutely. So it's good. It is good. It's very strong. You're going to be playing Red Nova in this for sure if this deck becomes playable.